And we'll move on to number 10, which is FIRESTORM. Ronnie Raymond was a jock of a high school student who was also, funnily enough, an environmentalist. When Ronnie showed up to protest the opening of a new nuclear plant, he met Dr. Martin Stein, a Nobel Prize winning physicist who worked there. When the Firestorm Matrix reactor malfunctioned thanks to one of Ronnie's compadres, Stein and Raymond were both caught in the radioactive aftermath and somehow found themselves fused together into Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. Now, they are a being with two minds sharing the same body, usually with Raymond taking the lead. Alongside the rather unique one man with two minds thing, Firestorm also gained the ability to transmute any non-organic matter, having complete control over molecules. With this ability, he can do many things. Flight, phasing, regeneration, self-sustenance, strength, durability, shapeshifting, energy projection, and absorption and density manipulation. All of which, as you know, make for an incredibly powerful individual. Number 9. VIXEN. Mary McCabe, who is the superhero known as VIXEN, is also a successful fashion icon, talk show host, and animal activist, who is able to channel the powers of any animal that has walked or evolved on Earth through the mystical object given to her ancestor by the god Anansi called the Tantu Totem. Originally, it was the Tantu Totem that gave her her abilities, but over time it has been changed. The totem actually just helps hone said abilities. Basically, VIXEN has a strong connection to the Red, which is a magical thingy that connects all animal life in DC Comics. A few other characters also share a connection to the Red, but I think VIXEN is definitely one of the coolest. Normally, she uses this power for flight and to enhance her speed, strength, senses, and healing abilities. But she has also sometimes used the poisonous abilities of certain animals and has even been seen to fully transform into animals. VIXEN's ability is so wide that she can use the light of an anglerfish to create powerful lasers, use the armor of armored beetles to withstand a punch from Superman, and she can even create a force field using just the energy from the Red itself. Number 8. Blue Beetle. The Blue Beetle Scarab is what gives this hero their powers. I say there because the Blue Beetle has been multiple people over the years. Dan Garrett and Ted Kord were the first, with the most recent Blue Beetle being Jamie Reyes, and he will also be the one featured in the DCEU, so I'm gonna mainly focus on him, sorry. Once the Scarab latches onto Reyes' spine, it can manifest various powers. When he's in danger, the Scarab automatically activates and encompasses him in a high-tech suit of blue, beetle-like armor. This suit provides Reyes with superhuman durability and strength, flight with wings that spread out of the back, and speed with rocket boosters. It can also translate both human and alien languages for Reyes. The suit's durability is so high that it is bulletproof and allows Reyes to survive the heat of a rocket launch, re-entering Earth's orbit, and even explosions. The suit can also produce energy blasts from its hands that are powerful enough to discharge Kryptonian radiation and neutralize magic, which, if you don't know, both of those things are quite the feat. The suit can also construct objects out of nanotechnology as well as transform itself into nearly anything. The suit has transformed itself into anything from swords and cannons to a staple gun, which could probably be pretty useful, I think. It can manipulate alien technology and apparently has access to WMDs that are apparently capable of taking out the Spectre, so yeah, don't sleep on Blue Beetle. Number 7. Red Tornado. Originally, Red Tornado was an android created by the supervillain T.O. Morrow, whose name I absolutely hate. But he was made to infiltrate the Justice Society of America. But since then, the android has, well, he's become more than an android, but he's also become a noble superhero and a pretty gosh darn powerful member of the Justice League. Red Tornado basically is an air elemental housed in an android shell. He can create powerful air currents powerful enough to level skyscrapers in seconds. He channels air and wind forces through his arms and legs to produce bursts of cyclone strength winds and high speed forward velocity flight. He can also absorb air, which, I mean, we all absorb air when we breathe, so it's kind of weird. But Red Tornado is also super strong and very durable, enough so that he, or it, can take a missile straight on and come out completely unharmed. A few times, Red Tornado actually managed to become invisible to the human eye due to his high velocity movement, and surprisingly not because he's an elemental. His android form also gives him resistance to various mental powers. He's very cool, but unfortunately not as popular as he should be. Number 6. the Ray. Raymond Terrell was apparently born with a condition that didn't allow him any exposure to sunlight. Or at least, that's what he had been told. It turns out Ray had been lied to. In reality, Ray's real father was Happy Terrell, a World War II hero known as the Ray. So it turns out Raymond was born with tremendous superpowers that only awaken with light exposure. Upon discovering his new powers, he actually went invisible for about 4 years, before saving a friend, turning the assailant invisible and then restoring them to scare the bejesus out of them. Ray is a being of light and has many abilities as a result. Once his body absorbs natural light, like sunlight or artificial light, he can direct the energy to rearrange molecules into any form, matter, or energy. With the projected energy, he can fly, project rays, beams, and bolts of destructive light, and create constructs out of pure light similar to how a Green Lantern can do it. Obviously, he can bend light to make himself or others invisible, but he can also do a similar thing in order to create illusions. And after consuming light energy, he can sustain himself off of it, not needing to eat or drink. Number 5. Metamorpho. Rex Mason was a globe-trotting adventurer and archaeologist who encountered the Orb of Ra on one of his journeys. This orb mutated him just a little horribly, but alongside the mutations, it also gave him the power to convert his body into any element. If you ask me, it's a pretty fair trade-off. I would take it. Using the power to shapeshift his body into various forms using the elements, he became a hero. Now Rex can stretch, bounce, elongate, control, and reshape his body as if it were made out of rubber or plastic. He can alter the shapes and consistencies of the elements he becomes and even combine them to form complex compounds. He has biofission, meaning that Rex can split his body into several copies of himself, each with the same powers. And lastly, he has a naturally occurring body armor, but it's a little redundant because although Metamorpho's powers allow him to fight against evil, they also are a curse, keeping him trapped in a hideous form, unable to even die. He's not hideous, honestly. People are just kind of judgmental. Number 4, Stargirl. Starting off as Star-Spangled Kid of the team Stars and Stripes with her stepdad, Pat Duggan, after joining the JSA, Courtney Whitmore is given the Star Rod when Jack Knight decides to quit being Starman. To continue his legacy, eventually she officially declares herself as Stargirl. Now, as Star-Spangled Kid, Courtney used the Cosmic Converter Belt, which enhances a number of Courtney's abilities such as her agility, durability, speed, stamina, and strength, as well as allowing her to create Star Blast from the stored energy of the belt. When she became Stargirl, she still kept this belt, but now she's using the Star Rod, which allows her to fly as well as absorb energy which she can project into various uses, such as blasts and force fields. Also, because the rod is attuned to her, it can receive mental commands from a distance, so she can do multiple different things here. Pretty good. Number 3, AZTEK. Okay, since we are talking about a character who has a lot to do with Aztec mythology, I will 110% mess up some pronunciation here. Just a forewarning. Uno, the man who would become Aztec, was trained from birth by the mysterious Q Society, which is a secret organization dedicated to providing a champion for Quetzalcoatl. His mission is to prepare for the eventual second coming of the dark god Tezcatlipoca. To help with that, Aztek's power comes from the Mask of Warriors, which has been handed down from warrior to warrior over the generations, with their consciousness becoming one with the mask, meaning Aztek can call upon the experience of his predecessors in any situation, which is incredibly helpful. The helmet bestows its wearer with a variety of abilities other than that though, including enhanced audio and visual systems like X-ray and infrared vision. It protects the wearer, increasing physical strength, and will even transfer full motor control over to the helmet if the wearer becomes unconscious. The armor can camouflage itself, turning it invisible or reducing the wearer's molecular density. The gauntlets contain energy blasters located in the palms, and launchers hidden in the wrists that can shoot wire nets, cables, or mini rockets. Kind of like Iron Man, the armor's chest piece acts as a power battery for the suit, and also allows the venting of highly destructive energy that can destroy a whole city block. The suit also allows him to fly and allows AZTEK to travel through space. It also looks super cool. Number 2, Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle was scot-free, who is the god of escape in the New Gods mythology. So that's already a high level of praise. A Genetian raised on Apocalypse, Scott and Big Barda left for Earth, where he used the skills he learned in escapology both as a performance artist and in the Justice League of America. So, obviously as a new god he has immortality, super strength, durability, and agility, but the fun part is his escapology. Scott can basically escape from most things, even in his sleep, and no, I'm not joking. He is aware of the unconscious procedures he's mastered and can modify them in their use with other skills to use new knowledge. He's also very proficient when it comes to making traps. It may not seem like an incredibly useful ability, but it is certainly unique and can be used in more instances than you may think, especially when on a team like the Justice League. And in at number 1 is the Phantom Stranger. First appearing in the first issue of his own self-titled comic all the way back in 1952, the Phantom Stranger is an immortal, to the extent of even surviving having his own heart taken out of his body. The Phantom Stranger is a mysterious supernatural guide and specialist in the occult. He can travel across space and time at will, even to magical dimensions, including the realm of the just dead, the antechamber of souls, heaven, hell, apocalypse, and the realm occupied by the quintessence. All of which is something very few Justice League members can actually do. There's a lot that is just kind of not known about this character, which is a purposeful thing, but it's a really annoying thing for making a video on him on YouTube. In the New 52, he is apparently Judas Iscariot, roaming the earth trying to make up for the guilt of betraying Jesus. I don't know where that came from, it just kinda is the way it is. He is one of the most powerful magic users in DC Comics, with his use of magic being almost unmatchable if not taken by surprise. Number 10, HAWKGIRL, a classic. After assisting in the defeat of Barbados and the Dark Knights, Kendra Saunders' HAWKGIRL was recruited to join the new Justice League as HAWKGIRL, a core member of the team. Nice. While not a totally new character, she did have a fight with Barbados, and that gave her this new nth metal fusion power. This gives her nth metal psychoreactive wings that look totally awesome. They can slice through flesh and are able to completely heal all by themselves. She has been reincarnated so many times and has so much experience that she makes an extremely effective and powerful member of the Justice League. As well as her cool new wings, Kendra also has several powers, including enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced vision, accelerated healing, self-sustenance, and has been taught telepathic resistance by Martian Manhunter. Unfortunately, she was one of those members of the League affected by the death of the Justice League thing. But that leads us directly into the next 5 points, so that's good. Number 9, the Wonder Twins. Look, they aren't really Justice League members, but they were interns, which is like part of the way there, right? Maybe. If you watched that video about weird DC multiverse characters, then you know these two. The Wonder Twins are 2 alien siblings from the planet Exor, who possess some interesting shape-changing powers. The sister Jaina has the ability to transform into any animal, which is a potentially very useful and powerful ability, and it's always pretty fun. The brother, on the other hand, Zan, is capable of turning into water in any of its states, so liquid, steam, or ice. Again, potentially pretty cool, but more often it's not though. And honestly, he always seems to play second fiddle to his sister anyways. The two were first introduced in Super Friends, where they were much more cheesy and did a whole lot of fist bumping. They still do, but it's sweet now. Number 8, Jace Fox's Batman. Okay, yes. I'm structuring this a little differently. So after the death of the Justice League, 5 legacy characters have been teased to be stepping up into the mantles of their predecessors. Timothy Jace Fox seems to be the one stepping into the role of Batman. First appearing in Dark Knight's Death Metal number 7 last year, he actually took on the role of Batman after Gotham became a police state ruled by the Magistrate, who hunted down masked characters, and Batman seemingly met his demise. That's Bruce Wayne Batman. Jace wears a batsuit very similar to the classic, only with a full face covering. In the art for the new Dark Crisis coming out next month, he seems to just have a regular cowl though. He has created a new bat symbol and has teamed up with Jason Todd Nightwing.
He also hums to himself while fighting criminals, which is kinda cute, honestly. Number 7. Jo Maleen's Green Lantern. Sojourner Maleen was granted a Green Lantern ring after she was unceremoniously fired from the New York City police force. She became the Green Lantern of an unnumbered sector, with her first main job being in the City Enduring, an alien planet city inhabited by 3 previously warring races. She's tasked with solving the city's first murder in 500 years. Pretty serious. Jo's ring recharges over time instead of requiring a battery, which, as a trade-off, makes it a bit weaker. It's still a Green Lantern ring though, so she ain't someone to mess with. This non-reliance also proves really useful when the central power battery explodes at a Green Lantern meeting Jo was running late to, taking out a bunch of lanterns and depowering a whole heck of a lot more of them. She took charge here like a true hero should. She has been teased to be taking over the role of Green Lantern. Obviously. Number 6. Jackson Hyde's Aquaman. Jackson Hyde is actually the son of one of Aquaman's main villains, Black Manta, but luckily he fights for justice, hence being part of this video. As Aqualad, with his hydrokinesis and Atlantean powers, he has been a part of the Teen Titans, Young Justice, and has fought alongside Aquaman against his own father, and has even temporarily stepped into the mantle of Aquaman in one of his major story arcs. He has proven himself capable, if not a little undisciplined, and he, alongside Jo Maleen, Jace Fox, Yara Flor, and John Kent, was part of the alternate Justice League in Future State, so we know he has the means to take over the role. Just like the last two, he is poised to take over the position of Aquaman, allegedly, in the upcoming Justice League. Number 5. Yara Flor's Wonder Woman. Ayla was an Amazonian who left Themyscira and settled in Brazil, where she fell in love with a Brazilian river deity. You know, like you do. The child these two would create became the Amazonian Brazilian demigod Yara Flor. Living in an Amazonian village, they were attacked by agents of the Greek gods, and Ayla lost her life. But Yara was taken to Idaho by a woman named Renata, who became her adopted mother. After her return to Brazil, she gets magical golden boleadoras, meets a human she hits it off with, is stabbed with an arrow by Eros, who she falls in love with, and is taken to Mount Olympus, where she is trained, given gifts, and gets a Pegasus named Jerry. Nice. She's offered the role of becoming Hera's champion, but after learning of her true origins, she refuses, and after a lot of scuffling, she brings some Amazons to defeat those responsible for the de-lifing of her own mother. She has become Wonder Girl, and was Wonder Woman in that Future State Justice League I keep talking about to defend my reason for putting these characters on this list. It'll be cool to see her actually step into the role of Wonder Woman, if that's what happens. Number 4. John Kent. And last, but extremely not the least, apparently, stepping into the role of Superman in the Justice League will be none other than his own son, Jonathan Samuel Kent. Look, it just makes sense. John obviously was a member of the League's reserves before this point, but taking over the role of his father would be a big step up if it is ultimately what comes to pass. The son of Clark and Lois Lane, Jonathan began fighting crime at the age of 10. John possesses all the same powers as his father, plus a solar radiation explosion thing that isn't really under his control. According to Batman, he actually has the potential to surpass his father's power levels thanks to his half-human physiology, which kind of makes no sense to me, but whatever. Jonathan actually became Superman when his father left Earth to go to War World, so he has had a bit of experience, which will hopefully help him if he does become the new Superman of the Justice League next month. And that covers every one of the characters teased to take over the respective roles in the League. A few of these characters are part of the future Justice League, so it remains to be seen what role exactly these few will play, and I may have doomed myself to be roasted in the comments, so there's that. Number 3. HIPPOLYTA, or HYPPOLYTA, or however you want to say it. Queen of Themyscira, she takes over the role of Wonder Woman in the Justice League in the Infinite Frontiers storyline. Now, Diana isn't perished. Well, she is now, but not when her mother took over in the Justice League. Diana had ascended after defeating the Darkest Knight, and with Hippolyta having dubbed Nubia as the newest ruler of Themyscira, she was pretty free to take on the role in the Justice League. It's interesting to see her interact with Aquaman, and the small amount of time her and the number 1 spot got to work together was also rather interesting. As an Amazonian, she possesses pretty much all the same powers as her daughter, just better because, you know, she's been around longer. Unfortunately, this whole thing didn't last very long with the whole death of the Justice League thing. Number 2, NAOMI McDuffie. Joining the team just after our number 1 spot in Justice League Volume 4, number 63, NAOMI McDuffie is a teenage energy-based hero who was actually sent to the Prime Earth from an alternate reality to be spared from this really crazy villain, Zumbado, who rules over her native Earth. While her powers are unstable and she hasn't quite learned a complete control over them yet, Powerhouse's powers are confirmed to be Omega level in nature, so that's enough to put her pretty high on this list. She basically transforms into a golden armored super-powered form, which gives her a kind of energy projection that she uses to enhance her punches, making them very super indeed, and she also uses them to fire energy blasts. Interestingly, NAOMI can also augment magical powers, kind of opposite to how Superman is weakened by them. In her super form, she can fly and obviously has super strength and durability. Number 1. Black Adam? What? That's right. Joining the Justice League in Volume 4, number 60 of the team's self-titled comic, thanks to an invite from Superman, it's my second favorite Adam other than myself. Teth Adam was an unwilling laborer back in ancient Egypt who received power from the wizard Shazam, just like that other guy in red with a lightning bolt. What was his name again? I forget. Black Adam actually loses his life, and after his resurrection was no longer powered by the wizard. Instead, he gained his power from 6 Egyptian deities: Shu, Horus, Amun, Sehuti, Aten, and Mehen. Funny how they happen to still spell it Shazam though, huh? And he still shouts Shazam to activate his powers too. Naturally. He also makes for quite a great leader, being the ruler of the African nation of Kondak. However, he hasn't traditionally been a great team player, and well, the whole supervillain anti-hero thing doesn't really help his case either. I'm just interested to see where this goes, to be perfectly honest. And in at number 2, Shazam. With the mystical power of 6 gods, Shazam is not just said to be the physical equivalent to a baseline Superman, but he can almost definitely take on Superman himself, as the Man of Steel has no resistance to magic. Shazam has actually proved himself to be faster than and also able to knock out Superboy Prime, who is one of the most powerful versions of Superman ever, able to shake reality with punches, that kind of thing. But this isn't a list about people who can take on Superman. Batman has stated that Shazam is one of the most powerful beings on planet Earth for a reason. He has KO'd the god of evil and father of Darkseid, Yuga Khan, with 1 punch. And speaking of gods, Shazam has been able to defeat the DC versions of Ares, Atlas, and Thor, all of whom are incredibly powerful gods. While he is astoundingly strong, fast, and durable, Shazam's true potential, I think, comes from his natural affinity for magic, which can potentially allow him to do almost anything, which I know to be true because of another magic-wielding leaguer. In at number 9 is Superman. We are kicking off this list with what everyone would expect to see, because it's just not interesting to have him any lower. That's my reasoning and I'm sticking to it. Superman is the baseline. He is what we compare almost all other DC superheroes to when we are talking about power. Superman at his base level can destroy planets, tank hits from just about anyone including Darkseid himself, and he has a whole plethora of abilities that some are even forgotten when writers use Superman in a story. The thing about Superman is that he almost has no upper limit. If this guy wants to, he will fly into not only our sun, but multiple suns throughout the universe to drink up their radiation in order to gain a massive power boost. He's been able to break the barrier between dimensions, and in some stories he has existed until the very end of the universe, splitting himself into multiples so that he can be a hero for the entirety of that universe, although that wasn't technically canon. The point is, while he is arguably without equal because of the fact that he has no real limit, there are a few members of the League who could give him a run for his money. Number 8, Zatanna. A lot of people sleep on Zatanna, and that's a mistake. Zatanna is part of the Homo Magi race, giving her a genetic talent for magic that makes her one of the greatest magic users in the multiverse. Zatanna was born with magic, but she's not limited by that. With the addition of learned magics, Zatanna can cast a whole multitude of spells that allow her to do things like travel dimensions, summon objects and beings, perform telekinesis and advanced telepathy, redirect and return attacks, mess with the weather or even time of day, manipulate her own size or transform into basically anything, become intangible, and manipulate magical versions of the elements. But that's all the basic stuff. She can cast spells that can manipulate reality, alter the molecular structure of objects, and move forward, backwards, and freeze time itself. And that's not even getting into what she could do with black magic. Sure, she may not be as physically capable as some other characters on this list, but she has the potential to make child's play of most of them despite that fact. If you guys are enjoying this list so far, make sure to drop a like and subscribe here at Top 10 Nerd. And make sure to let us know any topics for videos you want to see in the future. But coming in at number 7 is Wonder Woman. As 1/3 of DC's Trinity, Wonder Woman has to make this list. Where Superman is a being of raw power, that, plus his outstanding moral character, are what makes him so unstoppable. But then we have Wonder Woman, who is almost equal in terms of strength, speed, and durability to the Man of Steel, but she's leagues and bounds above the guy in terms of her skill. In a melee fight, she will outmatch pretty much anyone, and she will be quicker than almost anyone, including Superman, because she doesn't even need to think when fighting. She's just a natural. I don't think we can actually show it, but my favorite Wonder Woman panel, which I think comes from Injustice, is literally her snapping Superman's arm using her elbow while he screams in pain, and Harley Quinn is in the background like rooting her on. It's fantastic. But even in regular continuity, she's been able to last a hot minute against a mind-controlled Superman who was not holding back, and she could have even taken him down if she wanted to. And then we talk about Death Metal, where Wonder Woman got powered up to the point she was taking on beings of cosmic levels of power using a magical chainsaw. Then she went on to Valhalla, of all places, but even managed to get out of there and come back to Earth. And that's the other thing. Wonder Woman has access to not only magical artifacts, but she was gifted with magical abilities by the goddess Hecate, or however you pronounce that. And those powers were leagues above Zatanna's own magical prowess. And we've already talked about how powerful magic can be. There isn't much on Earth that can really stand against Wonder Woman. And at number 6 though is Green Lantern. I think a lot of the time Green Lantern is just thought of as the guy who can make breakable green light constructs, but that is just a huge oversimplification. To prove my point, all we gotta do is look at some of the things done by the most powerful Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. Hal is essentially pure willpower, which is what powers his Green Lantern ring. This means he has incredibly intense levels of strength and durability, but anything he does with his ring is just better than any other lantern. And that's before he even forged his own ring, which no other Green Lantern has ever done. Hal has such control over his ring that he has been able to pull a spaceship out of the gravitational pull of a star, but he has also used the ring to attack nanites inside his own bloodstream. He can destroy entire planets, one-shot KO Superman, hit people so hard that it warps reality, and then as most people know, he destroyed every single member of the Green Lantern Corps. Now after creating his ring, he was even more powerful than that. He literally started to become a being composed of will, which doesn't even really make sense, but means he can't really die. He obliterated Sinestro, who was powered up by Parallax. He moved so fast he broke the Speed Force barrier, tanked a massive blast from Mogo, who was a Green Lantern that's a planet, and Mogo was being boosted up by hundreds of other lanterns when that happened. And he created hard-like constructs that were actually alive and couldn't be beaten by the Green Lantern and Sinestro Corps combined. Absolutely insane. In at number 5 is Martian Manhunter. John Johns is another character that people really sleep on, but this guy is insane with his level of ability. There's a panel from the New 52 when Martian Manhunter is fighting off all the members of the Justice League at the same time. Let me break this down. With his left hand, Martian Manhunter is displaying his shapeshifting abilities, turning into a massive spiky club and whacking away both Cyborg and Hal Jordan Green Lantern. With his right hand, I think it's safe to say he's showing off his super strength, as he's got a power grip on the lasso of truth, and I'm assuming he's resisting its power, which is just a whole feat on its own. Behind him is Aquaman, who's like jabbing at Johns with his trident, but this is just going through the Martian Manhunter and is showing off his intangibility powers. And then we got Superman, who's flying around the fight at a decent distance away, while Manhunter is using his heat vision to keep him there. And then the funniest part is Batman doing absolutely nothing, just picking up the Flash, who seems to have just been knocked down. It's almost a perfect display of his abilities, but leaving out a handful, and one of the biggest. John is the most powerful telepath on Earth, and one of the most powerful in the universe. Martian Manhunter has been called the most powerful being on the planet, and he's at the top of the list of people that Superman is afraid to fight. That's enough said right there. Number 4, Orion. Orion is a new god and the son of Darkseid, and as such he's not not only incredibly conflicted, but also incredibly powerful. He has many forms and he has many abilities. Orion is repeatedly praised and stated to be a warrior with, quote, skill and ferocity second to none, which allowed him to become the greatest warrior on Apocalypse while he was undercover there. He is so astronomically strong that he has held open the hand of the god of strength and might, who had been threatening creation and ripping holes in reality with that strength. And he has stood against and beaten a sun-charged Superman one-on-one, something no one else in the Justice League was able to do. His durability is so powerful that he can tank star system destroying explosions. Orion is so fast that he moves with the speed of thought, and he's so smart that he was able to create the Genesis box, which can destroy and rebuild a universe. He can grow and shrink to any size, move through time, has a healing factor as if he actually needed one, has incredible super senses, and wields the Astro Force, which does a hell of a lot on top of everything, including matter and energy manipulation. But as an example, it once sealed holes in reality and knocked out Superman in a single shot. And that's all just Orion holding back and not using his true power called the Source of the Beast. And yet, he flies around space on a stupid looking scooter. And at number 3 is The Flash. Okay, look, I gotta tell you now that I'm actually gonna be talking about Wally West here. It's pretty well known that Wally is even faster than Barry Allen is, and I'd argue that he is the fastest speedster anywhere. In Flash Forward, Wally somehow went, quote, faster than the Speed Force, which means he went faster than the source of his own super speed. That makes no freaking sense! He can outrun Superman and Barry Allen. He outran the Black Flash, which is basically death, taking it to the end of the universe where it just ceased to exist. He has saved the Titans, who were all over the US, and he did it in 6¼ seconds. And my favorite point, there was a time that he saved the whole population of a city from a nuclear explosion as that explosion was going off, and he did it at like 1 billion times the speed of light. How does that even make sense? It doesn't. That's your answer. Wally West is insane. He can manipulate the Speed Force to make time basically irrelevant to himself, and he might as well just be classified as a god. Number 2, Firestorm. Where do we start with Firestorm? The main version of the character is Ronnie Raymond, who was fused with his professor Martin Stein. But there are a lot of other versions of Firestorm, a lot of whom are either one person or different fusions of people. It's annoyingly complex. The character, as you might guess, has pyrokinetic abilities plus durability, flight, reflexes, and super strength, but the character's main thing is that they can rearrange the molecules of matter. Now this ability is obviously incredibly OP, and it would simply take one story to make him completely god level, but for the most part, writers kind of misuse him. Potentially, this character could transform entire planets into whatever he wanted. With his powers, Firestorm's done some pretty godlike things. For example, Firestorm manifested a pink bunny mascot suit out of thin air around the villain's Skull Crusher. He's turned explosives into a jack-in-the-box and a cement truck into a giant teddy bear. It's hilarious, but like low-key, absolutely insane. On a way less hilarious note though, he also turned a girl into salt when he was resurrected as Deathstorm, and in Doomsday Clock, Firestorm accidentally turned a crowd of Russian protesters into glass. But outside of matter manipulation, Firestorm has had some impressive feats, like surviving the nuclear meltdown that originally created the hero and absorbing all the excess radiation, and then another time, Firestorm survived a straight-on nuclear explosion. An alternate version of the character called Deathstorm was able to absorb and capture 3 different Justice League teams into its Firestorm matrix, allowing the crime syndicate to take over Earth for a period of time. And in Infinite Crisis, Firestorm was able to seal a multiversal rift. Now in case you haven't noticed, we have kind of moved away from physically unstoppable characters to characters that are just pure science fiction gods. And at number 1 is Captain Atom. Nathaniel Atom was transformed into Captain Atom in the 60s after being semi-forced to participate in a potentially fatal experiment, piloting a device encased in an alien metal. Now the experiment didn't kill him. What it did do was atomize him and bond the alien metal to his flesh, giving him superpowers. Captain Atom's powers are like Firestorm's powers, but boosted to a whole different level, and with many more side abilities. Matter manipulation, energy manipulation, time manipulation, energy absorption, telepathy, spatial manipulation, quantum manipulation, force field creation, magic and mind manipulation, and control of the quantum field are all on this guy's roster of abilities. enemies. These powers have let him perform some insane feats like creating and destroying whole universes, fighting Superboy Prime, easily defeating a team composed of multiple versions of himself before absorbing them and creating an explosion powerful enough to destroy a universal space-time continuum. Captain Atom is potentially the most powerful superhero, certainly the most powerful who is also a member of the Justice League.